Hi, welcome to Class 4. Today we talk about triggers and anchors, how to overcome those things that set most people back into the cycle of addiction. And when I say triggers or anchors, what I'm talking about are those things that get your brain going in a different direction and may get you to want to relapse or to use again or to drink again. And so we use the term triggers or anchors interchangeably. And really this is all about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's how your brain actually works, the neurology, how it interacts with the language, because language is how we make sense out of the world. Our language interacts with our neurology, and it actually starts programs in our mind. I always use the analogy that if you use your computer, you wouldn't want to be running Windows 2000 today. It's not that the program didn't work then, it's just we have better programs now. But unfortunately, people don't show us how to upgrade our mental programming. So that's what we'll be doing with NLP, and today we talk about triggers. And what triggers are, basically it's stimulus response. You know, you get a stimulus and you do a response. And you do this all the time. When you're driving your car and you see a red light, you don't have to think about it, you stop, right? That's just, the stimulus is the red light, the response is stopping. If someone yells at you quickly, you'll turn and look. It's just what we do, right? And it really goes back to what Pavlov did, right? Which is he took the dogs and he got them hungry, and then when he fed them, he gave them a bell in the background. So he'd feed them bell, feed them bell. Eventually, all he had to do was ring the bell and the dogs would salivate, even if they weren't hungry. He could just feed them. A couple minutes later, ring the bell, the dogs would start salivating. He actually trained the neurology and the nervous system of the dogs. And so really, that's what happens to us, because our physiology is the same. You know, we're a stimulus response mechanism. And it really reminds me of Viktor Frankl. He's the man who wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. He was a guy that spent, his childhood in a concentration camp. And not only did his family die in the concentration camp, I think his entire village was wiped out. And so when he got out of the concentration camp, he talked about forgiveness and how forgiveness is the most important thing that we do. That's just interesting. But he had the comment that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So if you get a stimulus, before you do the response, there's a slight gap. And if you retrain it, so rather than, if you see a beer, go drink a beer, or if you hear the right music, you want to respond in a certain way, we can reprogram that. That's why we call it neuro-linguistic programming. And again, it has to do with how anchoring works, how stimulus response works. And really, it's very simple. If it would be like a bell curve, when a stimulus happens and you start going into a state, it's going to peak and then it's going to subside. And if you get a unique stimulus right when you're at the peak of the response, the stimulus will eventually elicit the response without you thinking about it, right? And so that's what we want to begin to do, because we want to stop it. We want to stop this stuff from happening. And so what are some of the common anchors? Things like your song, music from your high school. If you liked your high school years, whatever that music was is probably one of your favorites. Or it could be like if you went to college, that music sets off a stimulus within you. Maybe the smell of your favorite food. When you walk in and you smell, meatloaf or turkey cooking and the stuff at the holidays, right? What about the sight of your significant other? If you've been in a long-term relationship and you walk in and you see them and they give you the look, whatever the look is, it automatically sets something off in you, right? And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about the stimulus response. And there's a whole bunch of these common anchors that we have. Advertising slogans, like I said, the stop sign, a fire engine. If you've ever been driving and you hear a siren, you don't know if it's a fire engine or a police car, automatically you start looking around to see where it is, because you've trained your neurology to go, this is important to me. I have to do this. I have to find this. And so what we want to do is begin to change these kind of things. Because in addictions, we have all kinds of stimulus and response that we're working with. What if it's your drink or drug of choice? If you see it, maybe there's a smell with it, all of a sudden you want to do it. For many people, it could be things like party music, right? And something we don't really think about is our emotions. Are our emotions a driver for us to have a certain stimulus and response cycle? I would dare say it is. Maybe you get depressed, you want to eat or get high or have a drink. You get too anxious, you want to drink or take a pill, whatever it is, right? Certain people are stimulus response cycles for us, right? They're triggers. You see them, it makes you want to respond, right? Maybe it could be family members, people you don't see all the time. Of course, it could be places, you know, things like sporting events or hobbies, or sometimes family get-togethers because you're tense, you're nervous, you don't know how to react, and it suddenly makes you want to escape, right? And the addiction response basically is the anchor sets off the actions of whatever it is, right? It's not that like an instant, there's that little pause between the two, and you can choose to react differently. You can reset these anchors to stay clean and sober. So instead of seeing this, instead of causing you to go this way, it can cause you to go another way. And that's what we'll be talking about and working with. At the end of this, we're going to watch a little video. It's a comedy video, but it's about stop it. And it sounds trite, but basically that's one of the things that happens, right? Once it starts, you see the stimulus and you start going down this response. If you stop it in some way, shape, or form, you're much more likely to succeed. And I'd like you to think about changing and resetting some of your triggers. You know, what are your triggers? You know, they could be, and this is where it gets personal. My trigger may not bother you. Many people have to change things when they first get into recovery. I know in my case, I always talk a lot about this kind of stuff, but in my case, for the first 10 years, I didn't listen to country music, right? And I wouldn't listen to certain dance music unless I was in a safe environment, right? Where I knew it would be okay. Why? Because it made me want to go do certain things, you know, get happy feet, go dance, go party. So I had to think about this, right? And because what happens, you can do different things. If you get the stimulus, and before you go and start the bad cycle, what if you take a moment and pause and think about your gratitude list? What are the things that you're grateful for now that you're clean and sober? You know, that you can think clearly, that people are talking to you, you got a few dollars in your pocket, you can hold a job, all these kind of things, right? Many people, when they get the stimulus, they'll think about their last binge or their last cycle of addiction, right? In the 12-step world, they call it think the drink through. Right? I remember one time I was at this function, and a person there was describing why they had a relapse. And they said, well, you know, it was a hot day and it was hot outside and they were working outside and all they could think about, and they went like this, was a good cold beer, you know, and they did this with their hands, which means in their mind, they were representing that beer as this big. And then they described it, you know, with the ice on the side of the glass and the foam. And, you know, even if you didn't want to drink, you started getting thirsty. And then there was a guy, he said, and then I saw a beer and I knew I was going to do this, right? Well, what someone told him to do was, well, when you start thinking about that beer, pull back and put it in its proper perspective. And then what you need to do is, before you think about drinking it, when you look at that beer, think about what happened the last time you drank. And in his case, he got arrested. His wife got mad at him. Of course, he lost a job, all these things. So think the drink through is what they would say. And this makes sense because if you pull back, see it in its proper perspective, you're pulling out of the stimulus response cycle, right? You're pulling back enough where you can begin to change it and you can go in a different direction. And always be prepared. I always say be prepared, be prepared. Know that it's going to happen. And sometimes these triggers or these anchors, you're not going to know about them until they hit you, till something happens and it pops up. Maybe you haven't heard a certain song. Maybe you're not in a certain situation. You know, I just was talking to somebody and they felt uncomfortable. And what it was, they had to go to a wedding. They hadn't been to a wedding in a couple years since they got clean and sober. And suddenly, you know, they didn't even think about it till they got there. And of course, even people that don't normally drink, they're having a few drinks, they're doing the toast. And he got, you know, a little bit uncomfortable. But thank goodness that he was prepared, you know. He had his phone with him, of course, and he excused himself when they were doing a round of toasts, and he went outside and he made a phone call to remind himself of what he was almost ready to lose if he started down that path, right? And of course, his significant other was there to, you know, who was supportive of him not drinking in this environment, right? So when they first got there, he took his little champagne glass, they were going to come around and do the toast, and he turned it upside down, which any good waiter knows, well, that means you're not going to do it, you know, and he could toast it with his Diet Coke or his cup of coffee. And what was interesting, he said, once he did that, he was surprised that when he looked around, he thought he'd be the only one, you know, holding his little, he had a can of Diet Coke, that he'd be the only one doing it. And he looked around, there was a whole bunch of people with coffee cups, with bottles of water. He wasn't the only one. Of course, in his mind, he was sure he was the only one. And then he found out there was a lot of people that, you know, they knew they had to drive home, you know, there's DUI checkpoints, all these things are going on, right? So now what I want you to do again is think about what are your triggers. Maybe it's music, people, emotions, places. Maybe it's certain activities. I know some people take a pause from hobbies they used to have. You know, here in Florida, I've met people where when they first get clean and sober, if they were fishing a lot, they wait a little while before they go back and start fishing. Why? Well, because, you know, the typical thing to get ready to fish was buy a couple cases of beer, maybe, you know, get some dope, throw it in the boat to go out on the water and fish all day. But were they really fishing, or were they just drinking and smoking all day? Could be interesting. It's not saying you have to change everything, but maybe you have to begin to re-examine these things, right? Because this is how you begin to reset those stimulus response cycles. So in a moment, we're going to watch this little video. Stop it. It's an old Bob Newhart thing, but it just kind of puts things in perspective, because when you pull back and see how easy it is to retrain the mind, but nobody gives us these things, these tools, these techniques, these tips, then you can really begin to change. And then we're going to do our relaxation. So enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Dr. Switzer?
Yes, come in. I'm just washing my hands.
I'm Catherine Bigman. Janet Carlisle referred me.
Oh, yes. Fear of being buried alive in a box.
Yes, that's me. Should I lay down?
Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. Just have a seat. And let me tell you a bit about our billing. I charge $5 for the first 5 minutes. And then absolutely nothing after that. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Too good to be true, as a matter of fact.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that our session won't last the full 5 minutes. Now, we don't do any insurance billing, so you would either have to pay in cash or by check.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't make change.
All right.
And go.
Go.
Well,
What?
tell me about the problem that you wish to address.
Oh, okay. Well, I have this fear of being buried alive in a box. I start thinking about being buried alive, and I begin to panic.
Has anyone ever tried to bury you alive in a box?
No, but truly thinking about it does make my life horrible. I mean, I can't go through tunnels or be in an elevator or in a house, anything boxy.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic.
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Well, shall I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here they are. Stop it!
I'm sorry?
Stop it!
Stop it?
Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So, what are you saying?
You know, it's funny. I say 2 simple words, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who say exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is English. Stop it.
So, I should just stop it.
There you go. I mean, you don't want to go through life being scared of being buried alive in a box, do you? I mean, that sounds frightening.
It is.
Then stop it.
I can't. I mean, it's been with me
No,
since
no,
childhood.
no, no. We don't go there. Just stop.
So I should just stop being afraid of being buried alive in a box.
You got it. Good girl. Well, it's only been 3 minutes, so that will be $3.
Actually, I only have a 5, so
Well, I don't make change.
then I guess I'll take the full 5 minutes.
Fine. All right. Well, what other problems would you like to address?
I'm bulimic. I stick my fingers down my throat.
Stop it! What are you, nut of some kind? Don't do that.
But I'm compelled to. My mom used to call me fatty.
No, we don't go there.
But I've been having this dream.
No, we don't go there either.
But my horoscope did say...
We definitely don't go there. Just stop it. What else?
Well, I have self-destructive relationships with men.
Stop it! You want to be with a man, don't you?
Yes.
Well, then stop it. Don't be such a big baby.
I wash my hands a lot.
That's all right.
It is?
I wash my hands all the time. There's a lot of germs out there. Yeah, don't worry about that one.
I'm afraid to drive.
Well, stop it! How are you going to get around? Get in the car and drive, you kook. Stop it!
You stop it! You stop it!
What's the problem, Kathy?
I don't like this. I don't like this therapy at all. You're just telling me to stop it.
And you don't like that.
No, I don't.
So you think we're moving too fast? Is that it?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, then let me give you 10 words that I think will clear everything up for you. You want to get a pad and a pencil for this one?
All right.
Are you ready? Mm-hmm. All right, here are the 10 words. Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box!